we had two interesting wind-thrown scenarios this week, and so take a look at these and see what you think. One was a pine tree that had pushed over into a dead cedar stump, and the other was a larger pine tree fell over into a poplar, and then the poplar and the pine tree hung in a large oak limb. So it was quite interesting. Take a look and see what you think.
So if this saw, if I don't know whether it's warm or cold, I'd go all the way down to choke, pull up one notch, and then pass out.
Started off close to the stump, put a face notch underneath and an overcut. The stump didn't really go back to its roots very easily, so ended up taking the hinge off, letting it drop down. Good bit of back pressure coming off of the oak and the poplar.
So it opened up on top, so that started to go back, but I cut up through it, it didn't drop down. So either it's not going to take much, it doesn't have a lot of pressure either way. So I'm going to attempt to cut down here since I've got it notched up underneath now. I'm going to attempt to cut on down. Hopefully I don't get stuck. But it's not my saw, so I really don't care.
Neither do we.
So you see I did that? So if I go to this side of it to do the undercut, I was letting to see if that notch would close it all. It didn't. So I went to this side and come up, so that way it allows it to drop off. If I go to the other side, it won't drop off, will it? And if I go to cut the hinge off in between, that's ingrained fiber, and there's a good chance you got back pressure, now you're stuck in it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You always do want to make sure that you've got your plan together. So you got to look for the overhead hazards or things that can come at you. Then take a look to make sure which way it could roll, left or right, in other words, towards you or away from you. And then is it going to come up or down because of a balance point or pressure back? And so all of those things you've got to take into consideration before you choose what technique. In this case, I chose a face notch and an undercut, which more or less kept us to where it can't go side to side. It's just going to lower down, but it starts to balance here, so end up just taking it off.
So the weight's out that way then.
So we got back pressure, don't we?
Yep.
So now what I got to do is I got to think about, I could reverse it at this point. It's a little different than if you fell a tree, you can't reverse it, can you? Because of the material in between. But here you don't have all of that leverage up there. So I could drop down, cut the bottom and cut the top, or I could go up and cut the bottom and then the top. But that thing's trying to slide backwards. And it's not a real good situation. But in this case, it can't come to this side of the poplar. So I'm going to just try to take it off here, I think. Still going up.
All the weight's on the top.
Okay.
It's gonna take that other tree down with it. We're gonna have to take that poplar out.
I still would like.
So now it's suspended on the poplar and the oak. So I'm going to try to take one more piece off, and then we're going to try to take that piece off so I can get a little bit closer to the poplar so something can't come over and get me. And so then we're going to use a bore cut through and then release the poplar and let the hang come down.
The bore cut on here. So all I need to do is clean me a path through here so I can get just behind the oak.
Coming up here, just a face notch and a cut from the back would cause that poplar to barber chair, plus I'd have to be right there next to it as it happens. So has a lot of weight and pressure on it. I chose to use a face notch, a bore cut through, set up about a 1-inch hinge, cut back, left about 2 inches. It still supported all of that weight forward. I back up, use the tip of the bar, snap that little more or less strap off of the back, and I can back up out of the way. It couldn't really get to me because I had that oak tree as a guard there. All I had to do is get out of the way of the limbs. So we got it down safely, and that's something we cover. Make sure you've got the good plan and also got an escape. You got to have yourself in the right spot for these types of things. But it is possible to think through things and be able to do it safely in a lot of cases. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.